At mth.digital, we've upgraded the media plan and we are recently experimenting with something we call the MultiChannel Marketing Blueprint. And it's like an enhanced media plan that makes a lot of sense for us because it follows the natural digital marketing strategy and the natural relationship between a brand or an online shop and its customer. We'll explain you and we'll dive deep into it in a few seconds, but before, don't forget to subscribe to the Digital Brunch YouTube channel here below. Just tap subscribe and you'll always be up to date with the latest in digital marketing. Coming back to our enhanced media plan, what's it all about? So we decided to call it the Multi-Touch Marketing Blueprint because it actually started from a problem we've been having with this last click attribution in conversions in e-commerce. And we know that analytics and all the marketers are discussing about assisted conversions, and we've also discussed about it in another Digital Brunch episode. But at the end of the day, it always comes down to this problem where the interaction between a brand and its customer happens over multiple touch points. And it's very, very difficult actually to measure what the interaction from each touch point, how much did it actually matter for the final conversion. So this is why we decided that the model that we've all been using, like, okay, we have this monthly budget and we're going to split it into Google ads and Facebook ads and so on, and all these channels are going to bring a certain amount of customers, and from that certain amount of customers, visitors actually, you're going to get a certain amount of customers. So this is the classic marketing funnel model. Our multi-touch marketing blueprint looks more closely at the relationship between the brand and each buyer persona profile. So what we are trying to do here, as you can see in the columns, is that we are trying to look at the budget we allocate for each buyer persona profile. Of course, we are only looking at the main clusters of buyer personas. And here, of course, this is always very dynamic because it depends. Maybe when your brand is just starting out, it's more important to focus on attracting all these buyer persona profiles, but maybe later on it will be less important to focus on a certain segment and more important to focus on another one. Then you can see here in the rows that instead of having each marketing channel like the normal approach that we are all using in the industry, what we are trying to do here is to split the budget that we are going to have to be spending for each buyer persona profile. We are going to split it into three main stages: the generating interest stage, the activation stage, and the conversion stage. And of course, this is also going to be dynamic. Maybe in a certain month we are going to focus more on converting a certain buyer persona that we have already attracted in the past, and now we are going to remarket them, for example, and try to convert them. And maybe for another segment, we are trying to just tap into this audience. It's the first step. We are just scratching the surface and trying to get this buyer persona profile to know us. So this is what this model is trying to achieve here, and to measure month by month and to see how much you are achieving from this to the final stage of conversion. As a certain budget split, it's very complicated to say because, of course, the relationship and the business model is always dynamic, but as an average budget split, it makes sense to say that it's important for each buyer persona profile to have at least, when you are testing, to have quite similar split between these three stages. But of course, the generating interest stage is the one that is more expensive because we all know attracting new audience is always more expensive. So maybe it makes sense to allocate here 40% of the budget, 30% should go to the activating and engaging the interest of the audience stage, and 30% should go to capturing and converting the existing audience. So what changes actually is that we are no longer focusing on all buyer persona profiles and all channels at the same time. We are seeing exactly how much we are spending for each stage in each relationship to each of our buyer personas. And what we've noticed so far is that actually we are spending less money for the same number of conversions when we actually focus on this for a longer time. Another interesting thing is that you no longer look at the channels from the point of view of the classic media plan. You are looking for exactly what the purpose of that channel is and what the role of that campaign is in the relationship between the brand and the buyer persona profile. So for example, YouTube could have for you a generating interest role, and maybe Facebook catalog sales campaign could have a converting role. Each marketing channel could play honestly almost every role and could have a valuable input in each stage, but the important part is how you actually see it and how exactly you plan its strategy in the buyer persona profile relationship. This helps you also think about your creatives in a more focused way, because for example, when you are in the generating interest stage, your campaign should be more focused on presenting the brand, presenting the product or the product category, presenting a brand, putting front your unique selling proposition and so on, while when the actual role of the campaign is that of activating an existing audience, maybe then your creative should focus on presenting a certain product category or the benefits of a certain service that the user already knows about. Last but not least, in the conversion stage, you are talking to someone that already knows you, your service, your product, and your purpose here is to get them to convert, whether that action is to buy or to subscribe or whatever you're looking into. But it's very important here to focus on discount, price, limited offer, and so on. Thinking about the message also helps you, to a certain extent, identify what is the perfect marketing channel for that message. Because, okay, maybe your buyer persona profile is on YouTube or maybe they are on Instagram, but that doesn't mean that that's the perfect context for your message. So maybe it makes sense to look at the same time at the message and at the channel and to decide, depending on the stage and on the buyer persona profile, what is the perfect mix. I'm really curious if you're going to try this multi-touch marketing blueprint, what are the results that you are going to notice. What we notice is that when we focus on this approach instead of the classic media plan, what we actually achieve is a decrease in the cost per customer acquisition. But you have to actually think about it not as an innovation, it's actually something that we've been doing before, but looking at data this way and looking at the relationship between the brand and the customer this way helps you strategize your approach month by month and not getting into the day by day doing things where you're no longer thinking about them and you're just focusing on return on ad spend and cost per customer acquisition and so on. So you'll be more focused on results and you'll see the bigger picture easier. At least this is what we've achieved so far. We'll keep you updated and I would love to hear your comments and thoughts on this multi-touch marketing blueprint. Whether you use it, you test it, or you simply have an opinion, it's really valuable for us. Thank you.